So, why did you choose to make this about a game that only you can play, Master Hand? Because I can!
Okay, so the game name is Freedom Force, or Lethal Enforcers for the NES, as you may well know it.
And by the way, what Crazy Hand was referring to a moment ago was the fact that only one hand is needed to play a light gun game. Now, I know what you folks are thinking. Since Master Hand was a little lazy and not making something known in the last shot, see, we don't simply own a cheap imitation light gun for the FC3. No. We own the original. But you see, one of our mom's friends was a little bit careless with our NES during a move, despite us specifically telling her to be, careful with that fucking thing. And as a result, our NES stopped working after the move. So there you have it.
Now mind you, it's pretty standard as far as light gun games go, but most light gun games on the NES were gimmicks of some kind, in the way that Hogan's Alley was, rather two gimmicks, or, yeah, obviously that game right there. Now the game still only had the light gun functionality for part of the game.
Master Hand, I believe they want to hear about Freedom Force, not those other games. Yes, Christian, I'm getting to that.
Rude interruptions by the manifestation of the destructive spirit aside, hey! The fact that Freedom Force is a standard light gun game is pretty relieving in contrast to all the gimmicky games, plus the fact that there weren't many light gun games on the NES to begin with, and yeah, you can see how this game really does stand out despite being a standard format. Now, it's 5 levels of pretty much the stuff you would expect: your standard hit scan enemies, your more damaging non-hit scan enemies whose projectiles you can shoot out of the air, and consequently you get more points for shooting them while they have a projectile in the air, interestingly enough, and then of course your civilians. Interestingly, you have someone in this game that you cannot shoot, as well as a hostage being held by somebody who will promptly shoot you if you shoot said hostage. Yeah, and one little detail Master Hand left out: you cannot shoot the guy behind the hostage, so you just better avoid shooting that hostage altogether. Crazy Hand, I was getting to that. Sure you were, Master Hand. Sure you were.
Now, Master Hand, there's one thing in that same level as the hostage shaker that really bugs me.
Now, folks, I'll be honest. I remember doing some dumb things as a kid, but that didn't tend to involve things quite as stupid as, say, running in between 2 lines of fire. When you've got gunfire coming from 2 different sides, let's face it, as kids, we were afraid of guns as it was, but 2 lines of fire, really? This kid cannot possibly be that stupid and yet still know how to skateboard. There's no way. The rest of the civilians are at least somewhat believable. You can assume that they're either crying for help, or in the case of level 1, they're tied up, and then, of course, the babe is bulletproof. But this kid is just being a dumbass. Plain and simple. Now, after level 2 and level 4, you'll encounter these bonus rounds where you shoot letters of the alphabet to form words. Sometimes it's actually a character name from the game itself. But just because it says person does not necessarily mean that's what it is. However, one thing to note is that the bonus round after level 2 has a familiar music. Take a listen.
Now, not that reusing a perfectly good song is a bad thing or anything, folks, but that did clearly come from You're probably asking yourselves, just what happens when you win these bonus rounds? Just what does it entail? The reduction in error so you don't have to worry about shooting civilians as much? Nope, not that. Increase in health so that you can survive longer? You wish. What you get are some bonus points. Yeah!
Now, from a modern perspective, this seems ridiculous. Like, who would just give generic bonus points that don't do anything? Well, back in the day, this was pretty standard, really. And it is actually a mild help, believe it or not, because at certain point totals, your health does get refilled. However, the amount of points you get from the bonus rounds is relatively insignificant.
Oh, and speaking of bonus points, oh boy, I know where this is going. there are these things in the game that you can shoot that give you extra bonus points.
One of those things happens to be that plane you see there up by the top of the screen. Now just think about this for a second, folks. A cop shooting at an airplane at an airport filled with terrorists. Yeah, that pretty much wouldn't make it in today's society. Then there's a balloon that sometimes shows up at the beginning of level 4 that, if you shoot it, you skip the whole level. Okay, that doesn't really make any sense, but for a rule of fun, I suppose it's passable.
Now, one thing we've yet to talk about in this game are the power-ups.
And, well, there really isn't much to tell. There's the health icon that shows up for such a small fraction of a second that you'll never be able to shoot it on purpose.
Now, just to show you folks that Master Hand is not kidding about the fact that you won't be able to shoot that thing on purpose, just take a look over here. Okay, so 56, 53. Not there yet. 56, 60. Yep, there it is. 93, yep. And 00, bam, it's gone. Literally less than 1/2 of 1 second. The standard human reaction time is 3/4 of a second. Think about that.
Then there's the ammo refill, which shows up automatically anyway whenever your ammo's low. Then there's the hard mode icon, which both changes the music and makes it so you get attacked more often. And then there are the weapons. The 38 caliber is the default, and there comes an icon for you to be able to switch back to it should you wish to do so. The 44 Magnum increases the size of the white squares that the light gun detects so it's easier to shoot anything on the screen, but this also applies to civilians, so you have to be a little bit careful. Then there's the grenade launcher, which just shoots everything on the screen, including civilians. So you're probably not going to use that one very much.
Now, each level in this game has its own little uniqueness to it, but level 5 in particular really stands out.
There's an old man that shows up amongst all the old lady civilians in the level. But guess what? He's actually one of the bad guys, so you'll want to shoot his old ass dead before he launches a missile at you. Then there's the fact that you have to kill over twice the enemies that you did in level 4 to clear this one. Now, the game measures whether or not you've cleared the level by the number of enemies that you killed. So, given the fact that all previous levels can be cleared on one clip, and this one requires at least 2 ammo refills before you can clear it, yeah, you're going to have to slay quite a few baddies before you can beat the game's final level. And finally, as you've no doubt noticed from earlier clips, that bulletproof babe we mentioned earlier, apparently she is immune to bullets, but not to being choked by ugly rich guys. She's apparently supposed to be the player character's girlfriend or something. Of course, it could just be that you just saved her from being choked by said ugly rich guy. After all, in Manic Jackson's ending, if you play the 2-player mode, you find out that she comes on to him as well. Yeah, whatever. I say she's a slut.
Now, speaking about the endings, the first 3 rounds you would beat, each completion of 5 levels in succession is considered 1 round, by the way. The first 3 rounds you would beat would unleash a secret word. Spy Hunter, Xenophobe, and Platoon. And then, if you could find all of them, you could send them in to get some special stickers. Now, looking for these on the internet, you can't even find them on eBay or anything. It's really, really hard to find any of these. So if you happen to be somebody who has any of these, even if they're not in the best shape, guess what? You got yourself a lot of money you're sitting on. Okay, so the one remaining question, which goes to me since Crazy Hand really can't play this game. Hey, I heard that. Is this game any fun? Folks, it's a light gun game. Boom, boom, come on. Do I really have to answer that for you? So that's it, Master Hand. Not one mention of the story whatsoever. Crazy Hand, it's a light gun game. It's about shooting all the shit on the screen. Nobody cares about the story. Not one person. I guarantee it. Not one. Anyway, so that's the review, folks. If any of you do care about the story, check the deleted scenes before this video. So, with that said, this is Master Hand and Crazy Hand, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.